Now that Elbaf has been plunged into chaos, and the children have been taken hostage, it's up to the giants, our crew, and all of our allies to act quickly if they wish to foil the God's Knight's plans.
Will they be able to overcome these monsters and protect their future, or will the power of the God's Knights prove to be too much? We'll just have to read to see in One Piece chapter 1144.
But before getting into the chapter itself, let's start where we always do with another installment of the cover series, where after dispatching Who's Who, Yamato seemingly made very quick work of every other part of his gang that was still left in this castle, freeing pretty much everybody that was left inside, all the kidnap victims and everyone else.
Yeah, and we see that means Minatomo, all of the women that were kidnapped, but not pictured. It's also going to mean Page 1 and Ulti were let free, which it'll be interesting to see if we get any more of them in the coming series, if they maybe even defect to Yamato's side.
It would be cool to get her to gather like her own following of swordsmen, kind of like how Odin had, where he had his vassals.
Oh, that'd be cool. They become her first vassals? That'd actually be really cool.
Yeah, that would be an interesting spin on it. But let's start looking at the actual chapter, starting with the title, being A Time for Warriors. And as we've mentioned in previous chapters, the time for celebration and ignorance has well passed, and it is now time for every able-bodied warrior on this island to act if they want to save their home.
Yeah, even if they're not prepared, doesn't matter. It's time to get down and really respond to everything going on before it's too late.
And on page 1, before we can see these warriors in action, we do cut away to Franky and Ripley still exploring the Atom Tree away from all of this chaos, as they finally arrive at what appears to be a very rundown laboratory of some sort that was built into this tree.
And Franky, understandably, is very excited. It's clearly got a lot of scientific value. And Ripley, on a more basic level, is just like, well, you as a cyborg, I figured you would appreciate this the most of everything that I had to show. And I mean, she wasn't wrong.
No, maybe a little bit of like diet stereotyping, but
I mean, she's
not wrong. And it seems that these two actually weren't even the first two to encounter this building, as when they look up, they see Lilith and Bonnie have already beaten them there. Likely when they were searching for a proper spot to create the lab for the Vegapunk clone.
Yeah, which is kind of funny, especially once they reveal they didn't actually mean to find this place, they just kind of stumbled upon it because they got lost. Which, it's funny to me that the Vegapunk, while looking for a scientific area, just stumbles upon probably the oldest science lab known to man. Not known to man.
Yeah, just kind of calling to them. And they are warned that the alarms they might have been hearing off in the distance do kind of indicate the forest might not be safe and that they're glad they found them. But kind of acting indifferent to this, Lilith just shares how excited she is about this structure and the fact that it's probably older than 3,000 years old.
Which, that's crazy. We're talking pre-Void Century, possibly part of the Ancient Kingdom, or even before that, from maybe even the first world that we saw pictured in that mural.
I mean, the Ancient Kingdom was known as a super advanced kingdom and civilization, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. They had science before.
Yeah, and this could have even preceded that, or been like what led to the Ancient Kingdom, because 3,000 years is a crazy long time ago. Longer than anything we've seen to this point.
Absolutely. And as Lilith kind of does decide that she's going to settle in here a bit more, Franky does make an effort to say, okay, well, wait for me. I want to explore this place too. This looks awesome. But before he can even step inside, you see a look on Bonnie's face that is just utterly shocked at something standing behind Ripley and Franky.
Yeah, and understandably, because they're literally about to be shocked as they turn around and see a gigantic storm cloud with lightning bolts shooting out. And we see the first kind of title reveal of one of these monsters from the kids' minds, as we see what I find most scary: Thunder.
I really like how they introduce each of them like that. It is kind of like a title card.
Yeah, but it's like it's a title card that comes out of the actual child's mind.
Exactly. And as these two turn to run away from this, Franky's kind of quick to be like, oh, the land of mystery, but even Ripley's like, no, dude, I've never seen this.
Yeah, this is not something from here. I'm not familiar. We gotta go.
And Cutting to a different location on page 4, we do see back in Western Village another one of these children's fears, I believe it's pronounced
Draugr, maybe?
Yeah.
That's me playing Skyrim. That's what I saw when I see it, but
yeah.
it could probably be both interpretations.
Often known as like an undead ghoul of an old dead Viking corpse back in Norse history and mythology. But this is the massive skeleton that knocked the Fire's Valier out of the sky and now is head-to-head with the group standing in Western Village.
Yeah, and we see it brandishing a giant sword. So it's not just that it's going to be swinging at them. It's got a weapon of its own. And the giants, rightfully so, are responding by grabbing their own weapons and getting ready for a full-on battle.
Yeah, some of them still need to sober up a bit, but as they are gathering their arms, it seems that Angie relays over the telediction snail what exactly these monsters are, and that they're not just monsters that appeared out of nowhere. These are the children's worst fears that she believes has been brought to life.
And understandably, that's kind of hard for them to wrap their heads around. Like, what do you mean the children's imagination has come to life? Like, it's something they've never seen before. But obviously, it's happening, and they know we need our chiefs. We need our strongest warriors to help us fight this thing.
And it's kind of odd because as they do need strong fighters, they still are trying to usher the Straw Hat crew to safety. Like, they are their guests, but...
Yeah, but like, they're known great fighters. They've already established that. You need all hands on deck. Like, why would you push them away? And I mean, yeah, Brooks being a little silly, being like, hey, he kind of looks like me, but like, these guys are trained in this exact sort of situation.
They're a Yonko crew.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, they also aren't the only ones being excluded from this fight, as even Colin's attempts to join the effort to be a part of this fighting force are refuted by one of the other giants that just sends him away.
Which is understandable. You don't want this kid fighting. But I mean, he's that kind of guy. He's not about to back down. And his father is one of the greatest warriors, and it's just in his blood. He's going to fight to defend his people and his land.
And luckily, before the group can be taken away, Nami does manage to get Ja Rule's attention because she realizes before they go into battle, they should know everything about this situation. And she does tell him about the intruders that they believe they found in West Castle.
Yes, and does include that one of them looked just like red-haired Shanks, at least from what they were told. And they kind of realize, like, this has to be something from one of these people's abilities. This can't just be a coincidence.
Yeah, no, I think that's a big show of Jinbei's experience in that moment. I'm sure he's experienced a lot of, like, unexplainable powers that usually you can just deduce it's a devil fruit, and he's not wrong in this case either.
Especially when the Elbaf giants who have lived in this land for centuries themselves are not prepared for what is happening. It's very clear that this is an outside force.
And now that he has this information, Ja Rule does quickly dispatch a messenger to go tell the others of these two intruders causing all this chaos. But even Brook thinks to himself that there's so much that has happened so quickly, it's very likely that there's more than just two people causing this.
Yeah, and like you said, that is very astute of him to immediately be like, no, there's a lot all at once happening. It's probably a bigger group. And I mean, it's not that much more, but he's right.
However, despite the cooperation of the Straw Hat crew and personally exclaiming his own disgust at these kidnappings, Ja Rule's still not ready to let his guests be a part of the fight, and again tries to usher them away from the conflict.
Yeah, which really just, it doesn't make sense. Especially when they're the ones offering him a lot of this insight that they're going to be able to use to their advantage in the fight. They've given them this intel that, hey, this is multiple devil fruit users you need to be on the lookout for. Let them in, especially when your best fighters in Dorry and Brogy are nowhere to be found because they're still feeling the effects of all the alcohol they drink.
Yeah, no, they couldn't handle their liquor for this one. But the Straw Hats are not going to be so easily deterred by just being told not to do something.
Yeah, wouldn't be the Straw Hat way.
And they do rationalize that they are about the same size as the intruders they think they found, so they should be the ones to be able to handle this conflict.
Right, while the giants handle these giant monsters.
Exactly, it only makes sense to match up the sizes like that. But the real issue is going to be the fact that they are so small in this huge land, they can't get around so easily as the other giants. But this issue is also fairly quickly resolved as they look and see Colin. My bad. They see Colin trying to sneak off to his own ship, but they are able to kind of convince him that they can come along with him, although he has a bit of a misunderstanding as to what the situation's gonna be.
Yeah, I love this kid. He's a little too happy-go-lucky, excited about this. But his one demand is, I get to be the captain, which obviously Nami loves that. It's just so cute.
Yeah.
You gotta let him. But
you still gotta row.
Yeah. You still gotta do your own work.
However, we do cut over to the enemies that they're trying to set out for, who are still enjoying their leisurely meal and their lounging time. And something I really didn't expect to see that we haven't seen in a while.
No, absolutely did not see this coming.
Gunko is shown wearing tone dials, something we haven't seen in a while in the series, but this is what they sell music on. It's actually what Brook measures his sale of music on. And she's listening to music as part of her post-meal ritual.
And Summers just will not give up, man. He just continues to pester her. At first, just trying to take her tone dial so that he can listen to some of his own music. And then he asks her, what's your favorite song, since you're not going to share with me? What are you listening to? What's your go-to banger, Gunko? And it's kind of crazy. She tells him, New World. Which at first I was like, is that an Uta reference? But no. That's our very own Soul King Brook.
Yeah, no, he's one of the... I think it's the song he's performing when we see him in Return to Sabaody, too.
I'd like to imagine she was in that crowd.
Maybe. That would be really
crazy.
Cool. But I do have my own personal theory that, like, she's been shown to be a very bashful person, but she is a Brook fan now. Brook, pretty much anytime he introduces himself to a woman, asks to see her panties.
And when Summers first pulled up, she saw him in his underpants. And, she's blushing at it. Like, that's going to happen.
I could totally see that interaction happening.
It's going to be so stupid and, like, the peak of Brook's panty jokes.
I look forward to it. But even this chaotic, really wild reveal is still kind of mocked by Summers, as he's like, oh, I can't, what's wrong with this world? Is this not a good enough world for you?
Because he's kind of a douchebag.
He sucks. But Kieringham does, to calm him down. He's like, dude, you can't be making fun of the things people like.
Yeah, and then he's like, hey, tries to distract him. Also with something that Summers will still enjoy watching, as the sicko that he is, which is watching Saul trying to help the kids, doing everything he can to defend them.
And we do see Saul now trying a new strategy, realizing he can't touch the kids without getting stabbed. He instead is going to try to divert their path away from the fire by just standing in front of them with these two shields in hand.
Which is a good idea, it makes sense, but they're walking in a straight line straight for the flames, so he knows that he has to get them out of the way. But because they are in a straight line, that also means that once he blocks them, those thorns go right back at them.
Yeah, stabbing every kid behind them in the line. And realizing the pain he had just caused, of course, he feels horrible about it. And
these are children.
Yeah, he starts apologizing immediately. Well, not like he could have known about this, but, just a horrible trap. Even Robin comments on the next page.
Yeah, these are children, and it's just disgusting. She's absolutely right. Because you try to help them, if it doesn't hurt you physically, now it's going to cut the kids.
So he does need to kind of reconvene with Robin, and it's like, alright, we need a new game plan, we need to figure out where this is coming from.
And just like everyone else before, they're able to deduce at this point, this is the devil fruit ability.
Yeah, they're all well experienced with these people at this point, so I don't think there's much that can shock them unless this wasn't a devil fruit ability. But Saul does try a different path. He says, if I can't stop them from the front, maybe I can stop them from the back. And does actually manage to wrangle one of the kids in the back of the line, stopping them.
That was good thinking. But
not so simple.
Nope, never is. Because we then see that the dream ability has also been set up to act as a defense. It's basically a backup plan if the thorns don't work. Now, that kid who you just tried to save, their fear comes out. And we see this one, Fenrir.
Yeah, and Saul, again, very... kind of just out of his luck. He's like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Not only is this, but now I have to deal with the monsters trying to get these kids to walk into the fire.
Yeah, I mean, they really have a killer trio combo going here.
No,
you can't divert their path. You can't touch them. And now even if you are able to get one away, boom, now this mythical dream monster is on you.
Yeah, this is just a problem. And the monsters aren't just protecting the children, as they're not all directly being stopped. So we do see another one of the beasts going back to the Draugr back in Western Village, which finally they've defeated, but at the cost of so many of their own like soldiers.
Yeah, a lot of
to
injuries.
Get them there.
And now they're also hearing it's not just here; it's all over Elbaf. They're just popping up, causing all sorts of mayhem. So it truly is just too much for them to handle. Even the greatest warriors, it's too much.
Yeah, you see even like the fallen bodies of these warriors in front of the Draugr, and as they finally feel like they have a chance to catch their breath, immediately on the next page, 2 more of these spheres manifest in front of them, this time being a ghost, fairly simple, and the Neo-Hog, or what is often referred to as a worm dragon, that actually gnaws at the roots of the world tree in mythology.
There's a lot of Norse stuff, because obviously Fenrir, the wolf, a lot of these do have ties to Elbaf, and then others are just more of the basic monsters, but it's really just every bad thing you could possibly imagine is all coming at them, and they kind of realize, like, we can't handle this.
No, they even make the decision to retreat because they can't fight these 2 beasts after just defeating the Draugr. But luckily for them, the real fighting force has finally arrived to the scene. As freshly off of throwing up, pulling Trig, and getting back into the fight, Dorry and Brogy launch their pretty much signature attack at this point, the Hakako Sovereignty, as this just barrels through both of these monsters, theoretically killing both of them.
It definitely did. I mean, these aren't real, like, fully formed beasts, so I would assume that this just took them out.
Probably. But they're also not alone on this ship, as they show this entire Great Eric ship, their usual pirate ship, now in Svalier form, flying through the sky. And if that wasn't enough to help them, they're also accompanied by the mountain eater Scopper.
Which, let's go, dude. We saw a little bit of what he can do, but he was obviously holding back, just kind of playing with Luffy. We're about to see a real mountain eater Scopper. We're about to see him cook.
Especially if he sees his son or his wife in danger.
Well, I mean, they're both off doing whatever, who knows, but yeah. I think even just the base of, like, these are all his people, you know? They've accepted him. This is where he lives now. He's about to lay some waste.
I can't wait to see it.
Oh, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be glorious.
However, despite the allies of the Strawhats finally rallying, whether or not they'll be able to succeed here will truly depend on if they can find and defeat the Gods Knights in time. Will they be able to track them down next chapter? And who will be the first one to actually encounter this group that they still don't even know is technically here?
I do think that's a very important thing, which, you know, I don't know if everyone there will be able to handle them.
Oh,
so,
no.
like, you're the wrong person that stumbles upon them, it could be bad. These are the Gods Knights. There's a reason that they're saved for the absolute most dire of scenarios or these type of missions.
But you guys let us know in the comments below, who do you think is going to find the Gods Knights? Like the video if you enjoyed our chapter review, subscribe for more One Piece content like this in the future, and as always, be crew.